Tonight, the sea becomes battleground and protest. The global Flotilla, now composed of over 40 civilian vessels carrying more than 500 activists from dozens of nations, including Greta Thunberg, edges closer to Gaza, determined to breach Israel's naval blockade and deliver desperately needed aid. But Israeli forces are readying interception. What's at stake is international law, human lives, and the integrity of humanitarian missions. In this full breakdown, we trace the flotilla's journey, examine escalating tensions, and explore possible outcomes. As dusk falls over the Mediterranean, the flotilla advances. Organizers say the convoy has entered a high-risk zone, one where Israel has previously taken action against similar missions. Italian and Spanish naval vessels had been escorting parts of the flotilla, but Italy has now announced that it will withdraw its support once the flotilla closes to within 150 nautical miles of the Gaza coast. Activists have rejected Italy's compromise to offload aid in Cyprus and continue the mission directly to Gaza instead. The flotilla's organizers maintain that their mission is explicitly humanitarian and peaceful, aiming to highlight the blockade's effects and deliver medical supplies, food, and other essentials. Israel, on the other hand, views this as a provocative act, framing it as a security threat connected to Hamas. Already, the flotilla reports being harassed at sea. Some vessels say Israeli warships approached and encircled them, and that navigation and communications equipment were jammed, raising fears of cyber or electronic warfare tactics. The activists plan to keep sailing. They expect to arrive off Gaza by Thursday morning unless intercepted. In the past days, multiple confrontations have set the stage. In Greek waters near Crete, drones reportedly dropped stun grenades and irritants on flotilla vessels. No serious injuries were reported. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and other officials have warned activists of arrest and risk. The Pope has expressed concern for participant safety. Israel's defense forces are on alert. According to Israeli reports, a joint task force involving Navy, internal security, and diplomatic arms has been mobilized in preparation for possible maritime interception. The flotilla's presence is both symbolic and tactical. It puts public pressure on Israel and draws international attention to the blockade, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and legal questions about interception of civilian vessels in international waters. From its departure in Barcelona in late August, the flotilla has made stops and grown in size. Some vessels joined later from Sicily, others from Mediterranean ports, seeking to converge into a unified aid convoy. Along the route, organizers say they've faced acts of harassment, communication blackouts, drone overflights, and what they describe as dangerous maneuvers by Israeli vessels. The ships reportedly entered waters beyond Greek jurisdiction, moving toward zones that Israel claims to police, while the flotilla insists they are in international waters and have every right to sail. Italian naval escorts are being scaled back as the flotilla presses onward, leaving activists more exposed to interception risk. Despite these pressures, onboard morale remains firm. Many activists have spoken out publicly, broadcasting their messages, their fears, and their resolve. By current reports, the flotilla is within 120 nautical miles of Gaza, nearing the threshold where Israel says it will act. One of the central battlegrounds here is international maritime law. Under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, civilian vessels have freedom of navigation on the high seas. Interception in international waters is legally restricted unless in cases of piracy, slavery, or unauthorized broadcasting. Israel, to justify the blockade, refers to security concerns, specifically preventing smuggling of weapons to Hamas. It argues the blockade is legal under international law of armed conflict. Activists and legal experts counter that the blockade has humanitarian consequences, denying access to food, medicine, water, and basic services, which could amount to collective punishment. The flotilla's organizers argue that targeting humanitarian missions in international waters would breach international norms and conventions on relief operations and the laws of war. Diplomatically, countries hosting participants are being pulled in. Some governments support the mission, others caution restraint, balancing humanitarian impulses with geopolitical risk. Strategically, for Israel, this is a test. Allowing the flotilla to reach Gaza would weaken the blockade's credibility and could embolden future aid convoys. Intercepting too forcefully risks international backlash, especially if violence or injury occurs. For the flotilla, the mission is as much about optics and moral pressure as aid delivery. Every video, every confrontation, every word sent to the world carries weight. Israel likely has a range of options mapped out. Naval commando operations may board vessels, seize control, and detain activists, and redirect ships to Israeli ports for inspection. Communication and electronic warfare tactics could be used to jam, hack, or disable ship communications and navigation systems, as some activists already report. Israel may also deploy warships to surround the convoy, issue ultimatums to reroute, or threaten force. Vessels could be seized, cargo confiscated, and passengers detained. Non-lethal measures such as water cannons disabling small craft or warning shots may also be deployed to minimize deaths and international condemnation. Israel has offered that the flotilla dock at Israeli ports to transfer aid with oversight, an option activists have vehemently rejected, dubbing it a tactic to neutralize the mission's purpose. Russia, the United States, the European Union, and Middle Eastern countries are all watching. Any misstep could inflame diplomatic crises and possibly widen the conflict's scope. The risks are severe. If confrontation turns violent, civilian casualties would spark major global backlash. Nations with citizens aboard may demand accountability or retaliation. How this case is handled could set precedent for future humanitarian breaches of blockades. Regardless of outcome, both sides may spin the narrative. Israel may cast the flotilla as reckless. Activists may portray Israel as suppressing humanitarian aid. Even if interception occurs peacefully, cargo may never reach Gaza, further aggravating the humanitarian crisis. But there are potential wins for the flotilla. Media coverage and public opinion may pressure Israel politically. Even if cargo is seized, the mission draws attention to Gaza's suffering. Demonstrating solidarity may sway governments to push for more open aid corridors. Worst-case scenarios include a violent clash, significant casualties, and international condemnation. Better scenarios involve negotiated boarding, safe transit to Israel's ports, or partial delivery under international supervision. The global Sumud flotilla embodies a bold test of maritime activism, international law, and humanitarian urgency. As it edges closer to Gaza's shores, the world watches, ready to judge whether a blockade can hold against such symbolic defiance. Either way, the outcome will resonate far beyond the Mediterranean waves. If you found this analysis insightful, like and subscribe for more deep dives. Leave your thoughts. Do you think the flotilla will succeed? Will Israel intercept? And how? Share this video to raise awareness. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for real-time updates.